Seong-hu began to pant heavily with fear and realized that Soryong was not joking. If our boy had not stopped the centipedes, he really would have died. Soryong stood up and began to show a penetrating gaze. Seong-hu realized that he was a fearsome man. In Yan Seong-hu's eyes, Soryong was like a monster. Our boy asked if he was okay, and at that moment, Hyeon appeared and with a confused gaze asked what they were doing. Upon hearing her voice, Soryong's eyes widened in surprise, making him panic. With eyes shining with rage and a murderous intent, she questioned whether Seong-hu was planning to harm Soryong. Resting his hand on Seong-hu's shoulder, with a forced smile, Soryong explained that there had been a misunderstanding. He had gotten lost after leaving the pavilion, and at that moment Seong-hu had appeared and offered to show him the way, so for this reason, they were together. Hyeon began to ponder in silence. She did not know whether to believe that Seong-hu had offered to show Soryong the way. Upon observing closely, she saw that the centipedes were restless. With a nervous gaze, Soryong placed one of the small centipedes on Seong-hu's head and mentioned that after chatting he wanted to show the centipedes to Seong-hu. So he had asked Seong-hu to release a bit of killing intent, and this was what had happened. Our boy explained that he was only joking with Seong-hu. Seong-hu was confused, but decided to play along with Soryong. He stood up and placing his hand on his shoulder, with a smile mentioned that Soryong was right. Hyeon's eyes filled with suspicion. She didn't know if they were telling the truth. She thanked Seong-hu for guiding Soryong and decided it was time to return to the reception hall. With a nervous smile, Soryong nodded and started running. Seong-hu put his hand on top of his head and let out a sigh of relief since he had narrowly avoided getting into trouble. While Soryong was walking away, he turned around and with a smile made it clear that he had saved Seong-hu's life twice. After saying this, they left. Seong-hu's jaw dropped in confusion. He didn't know what was happening. The next morning, the ships began to arrive at the port. Soryong, Hyeon and Gu-pi got ready to leave. With a smile, she greeted Seong-hu and the others by bowing her head and explained that they had something to do, so they had to go, thanking everyone for their kindness. Slaying Dragon asked both of them to take care. Just before they could leave, with a curious gaze, Sword Phoenix asked Soryong to wait a moment. Then, she placed her hand on Seong-hu's shoulder, with eyes full of nervousness. He bowed his head to Soryong as a sign of respect. Sword Phoenix mentioned that she had heard what Seong-hu had done and thanked Soryong for his generosity. Soryong's eyes widened in confusion. Seong-hu started touching his head and with a nervous gaze thanked our boy, explaining that after talking with Sword Phoenix at night, he had realized how foolish he had been. A proud smile appeared on the faces of his friends. With eyes full of tears, he clenched his fists and revealed that he had convinced himself when he saw Soryong's great tolerance, who had covered up his bad manners. According to him, Soryong was the most suitable as Hyeon's fiancé. He asked our boy to take good care of her in the future. Soryong said goodbye to them and couldn't help but smile. He had heard that they would meet again at the Phoenix Dragon Conference, so there was no need to become enemies. Once Soryong and the others boarded the ship, Seong-hu and the others bid them farewell with a smile. They departed in the sky filled with birds. Late at night, in the village below Mount Hwang there was an inn. Soryong and the others stayed at the inn and sat down to eat. A maid brought them food and left. They had left Wuhan and arrived in Anking. Gu-pi suggested that it was better to rest in this place since it was late. Mount Hwang could be rough, and it took half a day to reach the Namgung clan. Soryong began to eat calmly. They decided to spend the night at this inn after hearing Gu-pi's words. Hyeon's eyes filled with confusion, leaving her in shock. She couldn't believe that Soryong had received the secret manual of the Iron Coffer technique, the exclusive martial art of the Fist Emperor. Soryong mentioned that he had said they looked alike and asked if that was a good thing. She nodded because although it was said that training for the Iron Coffer technique was painful, once he mastered it, it could even block swords and Kai-based attacks. With a cheerful gaze, she revealed that it was the exclusive martial art of the very Emperor of the Fist himself. Some even said that it rivaled Shailin's indestructible diamond divine art, and since it was an external martial art, it was not heavily influenced by internal cultivation methods, so Soryong wasn't going to have any problem learning it. Soryong was in shock as he knew that if he mastered the technique, he would gain bulletproof defense. He knew that he had inherited an incredible technique. With a kind smile, she offered to help him train, as she had heard that the first emperor used to whip his own body every morning as part of the regimen and she could do this for Soryong. Soryong's jaw dropped upon hearing that the first emperor used to whip his own body, clenching her fists. She said this was true since hardening skin through whipping was part of training. Soryong couldn't help blushing at the thought of Hyeon dressed as a maid holding a whip. Just then, an old man approached them and asked if they were planning to climb Mount Hyeongshan. Soryong's eyes filled with curiosity and he turned around. Huion nodded her head and questioned why the old man was asking this. The old man introduced himself as the owner of the inn and asked if they were heading to the Namgung clan. Our boy stood up and with a confused gaze asked if there was any problem. Huion remembered that her father had said that sinister rumors had been spreading. She didn't know if this could be related to them. The old man approached her and revealed that during the last few months, the people who had gone up Mount Huangshan had started to disappear. Eventually they had been found safe and sound, but all their young energy had been completely drained. Upon hearing this, Soryong's face filled with fear, while on the other hand, Huion became suspicious since according to her this was strange. She questioned what all of this had to do with the Namgung clan. The old man coughed and couldn't help blushing when he revealed that each of the people who had come back to their senses had said the same thing. The person they had spent the night with was none other than Lady Namgung Xiao of the Namgung clan. Upon knowing this, Huion's eyes widened in confusion, leaving her in shock. She began arguing with the old man saying that this was absurd. According to her this must be a trap, a malicious slander. Soryong asked her to calm down. The old man panicked and with a nervous expression revealed that everyone had reacted like her. It was night and the moon was high in the sky and not far away was the manor of the Namgung clan. Xiao was sitting in her room sewing. Just then, a maid opened the door to her room, making her curious. The maid informed that the patriarch had summoned her to the patriarch's hall immediately, leaving her somewhat surprised. Without wasting any more time, she left her room and began heading toward the patriarch's hall. She did not know if her father had found out that she had been secretly training fencing at night. Once she arrived at the patriarch's hall, her eyes filled with surprise. In front of the patriarch there were several men kneeling. When he saw that she had arrived, the father's eyes began to shine with seriousness. He gave the order to all the men to raise their heads, and asked everyone to say if the one they had seen was really his daughter. With a face full of fear and trembling, one of the men raised his head, and the others began to ask for mercy. With a furious gaze, the father gave them the order to speak the truth at once, leaving Xiao somewhat confused. With a serious expression, he asked if Xiao had been secretly going out to Mount Huangshan at night. He revealed that these men were saying that she had drained their yang energy. Her eyes widened in fear and confusion. Her face filled with fear and she couldn't help but cry. The father began to point at her and asked her to speak clearly. With a sincere gaze, she admitted that it was true that she had been training with her sword in the valleys of Mount Huangshan the last few days, but swore that aside from training with the sword, she hadn't done anything else. The father turned toward the men and said that his daughter had declared herself innocent, so they must provide solid evidence of what they claimed to have seen. With eyes full of tears, the fat man swore that they only spoke of what they had seen with their own eyes. They did not intend to insult the young lady. The other man began to cry since he didn't know what was happening in this world, nor if everyone had gone crazy or been possessed by spirits. Upon hearing this, the fat man's eyes filled with surprise. He stood up and said that there was a mole. The patriarch became curious and asked which mole he was talking about. Pointing at his chest, he revealed that the woman they had seen had a mole on her chest. With a curious expression, the father thought this was nonsense, turned around and asked Xiao if it was true. She put her hand over her mouth and her eyes began to shine with fear, leaving her in shock. Seeing her expression, the father couldn't help but get angry. He couldn't believe that this was true. So, friends, this chapter comes to an end. What will happen next? We'll uncover it in the next chapter. Don't forget to rate this chapter out of 10 in the comments. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care and goodbye. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.